I'm Leandra Franich from PaperArtsy, and this video is to share with you our 2016 new release products for the Lin Brown collection. She comes under the Eclectica banner and she has been doing some fantastic stamps in recent years for us. Her flowers that she did last year are fabulous, and she's got some very similar flowers to follow, which just gives many more options for you with those stamps. For 2016, she's got 4 stamp sets and 2 fantastic stencils. So let's take a look at some samples from Lin and a few of the people who she's asked to work with her. Lin Brown has got 4 new stamp sets. So 3 of them are flowers, which we're just showing you here, ELB 25, 26 and 27. So 25 has got this gorgeous feature stamp here on this one, and lots of other elements that work, and they've all got little dots on the stalks, all tying them in together. 26 is a daisy. I really like sort of the solid branch that she's got there. It's going to be really useful. And 27 with the lily. Now, in addition to that, she's got another set of quotes, and her quotes are always very popular. So quite a few stamps on there that will work, and you'll see them throughout all the samples. And then she's done a couple of stencils as well. So that's PS for PaperArtsy stencil 025, and this one is PS 024. So you know how Lin likes to bump stencils and layer up with the solid using paints and everything. We've shown you that in videos in the past. This one here has got the really fine detail. So here's an example of it with tinted grunge paste through a stencil. So the grunge paste is fantastic. It loves fine detail stencils like that, no problem whatsoever. And there's also grunge paste on the word there, which is from the word embrace. And this sample here has got the frond off there, which Ruth has done, and this is actually onto a beautiful fine fabric, and so she's managed to create shading within the foliage, which gives a really nice bit of dimension to it. And here's a sample by Lin, and just draw your attention to the detail that she's created here by actually cutting one of the flowers in really fine detail. It's off, which plate is it off? This one. So see that little flower stamp down there? She's actually cut in between to create that really fine petal effect, and then little tiny white dots on the edges of them all, and layered that up on top of one of the daisy flowers. But really I'm showing you this for the stencil. So that's PS 024. And then the other stencil, this one here, PS 025, got some samples with that. So here's a couple by Hazel. She's also got the word stamp on there. So we've got a mixture. If I put those in the middle, it'll make it easier. So you've got the solid of that flower through the stencil, and the stamping also in that bold foliage stamp, and then the quotes are in black on top. And then another sample here by Lin. So she's put grunge paste through this stencil here. Obviously she created a background first and stamped various bits and pieces, but then she's coloured on top of the grunge paste with pencils, and really blended that through and creating dark shadowing at the very edges. And then to make it pop, because she said it really didn't pop off the background, she added these tiny little black dots all the way around the edge to just give it the lift that it needed. So it's a lovely example from Lin with that stencil. So let's take a look at some samples of the stamps, and I'm going to start with this guy, ELB 25. So we've got, I love how Hazel has done it on this one in browns, because you wouldn't normally think to perhaps do something like that in brown, but it's beautiful, and lots of lovely tone on tone in the chocolatey colours. This sample here is by Ruth, and she's actually used elements from quite a few of the stamp plates. There's that flower we just spoke about, but you can see on here she's got this here and this comes in off another plate as well. So just creating those 3 little panels as a focal point. Then here you can see this is from this guy here, and just adding colour to the stalk. This one also by Ruth. Now this is amazing. I'm pretty sure she's used stamped and in something sticky, and then applied rusting powder to it and used the water on top to make that rust. And it's really pretty how the copper inside that catches as well. So she's got it onto some kind of fabric. To me it looks like a nappy liner, but you'll have to go to Ruth's blog, and the link to Ruth's blog will be at the bottom of this video as well. And you can see she's used the stencil in the background there. Okay, here we've got a couple of samples from Karen Eaglesham. Now she's put him onto shrink plastic and shrunk it right down. And she's got some texture from the stencil in the background as well, and those two just look great together. She's even got some metal on the corners here, and that metal has been embossed through Lin's stencil. There's a little bit of sort of stonework on the bottom of one of the stencils here, and so she's managed to emboss that texture using her metal embossing tools. So that's that one, and here's another sample from Lin Brown herself using that stamp. And you can see that she's used the head of the stamp in 2 ways. Obviously you've got lovely orange colours at the top, but then she's created a bush for the bottom and made it look sort of like a flax bush or grasses. Very clever. And that's all been fussy cut because there's layer upon layer, and she's obviously had to use a craft knife to get right into the little tricky sections. Very diligent of her. And this is the sort of thing that Lin does a lot at the moment, works with fabric, and she's got beautiful layers of fabric on here. And even hand stitched, all those little lines you can see in the background there, it's all hand stitched. She works onto Egyptian cotton because it gives you a beautiful fine stamped detail. So the finer the weave your fabric is, the better detail of your stamped image. If you stamp onto a really textured fabric like canvas or hessian, obviously you're not going to get a lovely sharp image like you will onto something like this, Egyptian cotton or muslin or a very fine calico. Very fine weave. Another sample using that stamp by Lin, and in the background here she's also got the stencil bump technique and stamped one of the quotes over the top. And then another one by Lin here, and she's got a microscope slide set in one of the Ranger frames, and she's stamped and painted that. So you would stamp it on one side and then paint from behind, and then she's actually, if you can see the metallic glaze in the background there, she's put a layer of that at the very end, which has sort of created a background with some altered book page behind it. Okay, so that's ELB 25. Let's move on to ELB 26, which is this lovely daisy stamp set. So she's created it so that you can use the head on its own or with this flower on top, so the stalk is detachable. And all of these stamps, like usual, we always present them trimmed onto Easy Mount, so you just peel them off and they're ready to go. We always do the Eclectica series stamps this way. So this one's by Hazel Agnew, and you can see that she's used a tool to sort of scrape paint to create the background and then white emboss the daisy head. Hazel's also done these 2 panels, and I kind of wanted to show you the contrast because it's quite cool seeing how you could do this in black and white or add colour. So it's a 9-up panel just using sections of stamped images. Very effective, very striking. This one's by Ruth, and so she's used the daisy, and it's such a fun stamp to layer up and create that gradient of colour in the centre. Another one here. Lovely wishy-washy background, and then this is onto the waxed craft paper and layered up. This sample here is by Karen Eaglesham. She's done some lovely gold embossing on top of a darker coloured card, and you can see she's used that stencil around the edge as well, a little bit of treasure gold on top of it, just to add a bit of texture at the very edges, and then the gold embossed quote in the centre gives a real lovely focal point. There's another one with lots of layers of the daisy onto altered book page. And then some samples from Lin. Again, she's got her bumped stencil technique in the background, which she really likes to use, and it's interesting how she's used the script from this stamp set. So you can see she's got lots of different words going on in the background here and stamped them in ink over the top of each other and varying the orientation of the stamp to create a cool wordy background. And then this final one by Lin of the daisy set, and you can see she's also layered up, and she's added dimension to the stalk as well by just sort of putting some foam pad behind the leaf so that it just sort of shapes it and raises it up off the background a little bit. She's got metallic glaze on there, making that give it a little bit of a sparkle. Maybe it's pearl. No, I think it's metallic. And then let's move on to the very final stamp set, which is the lily. And we've got some amazing samples with that as well. So here's a couple of tags by Hazel. I love her background on this one. It's very wishy-washy. I think she's used probably a pale coloured paint to knock back her original background, and that really allows the lily to sort of stand out on the top of it. So that looks good. There's another one here. You can see that just by shading you can create nice depth with that lily. And here's one by Karen Eaglesham. She's got this onto, it looks like stamp board, and then she's scratched into the stamp board. So you put your paint on, stamp your image, and then if you take something like a pokey tool, you can scratch highlights right through down into the clay coated board. Nice background panel she's created there as well. Again, similar idea to Lin, stamping the words and stamping the images just to create a background to layer up onto. And then this one's by Karen Eaglesham, and she's also stamped away and cut away here at that lovely little flower. It makes it look like one of those lovely spiky things. Tucked her little flowers and berries in there. Looks amazing. There's another amazing sample. We've been so spoilt this time. Look at what Karen Eaglesham has done. So she's worked onto that mouldable plastic and added all that beautiful colouring and shading to it, and then shaped it and layered it all up and added all these other embellishments in the background, and she's popped that on top of a crackle background. It's amazing, isn't it? Really lovely work. Can you see the depth there? Must be, sits about an inch high off the background. It's fabulous. And then we'll finish with a few samples by Lin. So this is a little mini book that she's done using that little guy there, and she's made this using a piece of A4 page and then just cut it and arranged it into pages and stamped her quotes and what have you on there. And this is also by Lin. Very simple card, some lovely colouring on there. And that one. So this one she's layered up. I do like this down the bottom there. So that's off the first stamp set there. They all seem to have used this one quite a lot. I think it's become a bit of a favourite for them. And then finally, using the lily, another one from Lin. And she's got corrugated card there, the quotes stamped in the middle of that. and then built up her layers in the background. So that's 4 stamps and 2 stencils from Lin Brown. If you would like more information on the samples that you've seen in this video, the people who made those samples, or if you want to know where you can buy these products, then click on the link in the description below on this video and it will take you straight through to the PaperArtsy blog post that matches this new release. If you'd like to find out about more of our 2016 new product releases, click on the playlist and you'll be able to see lots of other videos with other new products from us here at PaperArtsy.